Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wa sayyidil mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa ahli bayti tahirati ajma'in, amma ba'd. Fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So last week I completed the 3 episodes regarding Surah Al-Hadid, and I mentioned in there that Allah Ta'ala emphasizes that this world is temporary and all its gifts are temporary. And that's a very appropriate message for us to take into these 3 months which signify Ramadan and its approach, Rajab, Sha'ban and Ramadan, because this is the time for us to detach from the material dunya and refocus our attention on our relationship with Allah Ta'ala and upon the akhirah. So this is a nice message for us to end on, that the world is temporary and the real investment we have to make is for the hereafter. This is the second Jummah of the month of Rajab. And Rajab, according to the scholars, the name of Rajab is derived from tarjib, which means honor. So this is a month which Allah Ta'ala gave honor. And in a famous narration, the Prophet Sallallahu Ta'ala Alaihi Wasallam said that the month of Rajab was the month of Allah Ta'ala, and Sha'ban was his month, and Ramadan was the month of the Ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So this is the month of Allah, according to the words of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It is a month of honor and dignity, and it is a time when we should refocus our attention on the hereafter and prepare for the approach to Ramadan. Inshallah, the month of March will be roughly commensurate with the days of Ramadan, inshallah, this year. So we have to start preparing for that now. In the Qur'an, in Surah At-Tawbah, chapter 9, verse 36, Allah Ta'ala said, إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم. And then the topic shifts after this. So إن عدة الشهور عند الله, that indeed the number of months, عدة الشهور عند الله, with Allah Ta'ala, 12 is 12. 12 شهرا, 12 months. في كتاب الله, in the register of Allah Ta'ala, in the record of Allah, يوم خلق السماوات والأرض, from the day when He created the heavens and the earth. We know that our reckoning of time, days, months, years, this is all according to the movements of the celestial bodies. This is something which Allah Ta'ala had already set up. This system had already been established يَوْمَ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, from the day when He established the heavens and the earth. So all of this was there from the time of creation. Now it is our calendar which uses these mechanisms to reckon time. Allah Ta'ala said already this was written with Him. يَوْمَ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. But this is the important bit. He says, مِنْهَا أَرْبَعَةٌ حُرُمٌ. Amongst these months, 4 of them are sacred. Hurum, meaning we say Masjid al-Haram, Shahr al-Haram, so the sacred mosque, the sacred month. This indicates that some things are prohibited in this time. So there is a sanctity of place or of time, in this case of time, which signifies extra care being taken about the actions in this time. And Allah Ta'ala said, ذَلِكَ الدِّينُ الْقَيِّمِ, this is the established religion. This is the correct religion. فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. This is the injunction of Allah Ta'ala. After telling us that there are 4 sacred months, He said, فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. So therefore, this is a resultative therefore, since these months are sacred, do not wrong yourselves in these months. The scholars explained that what this means is that in the sacred months, rewards are multiplied, and to commit a sin is more sacrilegious. So therefore, if we fail to do good deeds in these times, we will be more deprived of mercy. If we commit sins in these times, we will be transgressing more against what Allah Ta'ala intended. So Allah Ta'ala says, فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. So Rajab and its following month Sha'ban, and then of course the climax of these 3 months, the Ramadan. This period of time is signifying to us that this is a time for us to take care of our actions. Avoid the haram and do what Allah has commanded. These particular months, Arba'atun Hurum, which are mentioned in this verse, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in a hadith in Bukhari Sharif that the year is of 12 months, out of which 4 months are sacred. 3 are in succession: Dhul Qada, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram. So these are the months that were associated with the Hajj. Dhul Qada and Dhul Hijjah, this was the time when people would prepare and come for the Hajj. So they were already sacred to the Arabs. And then Muharram al-Haram, which is the first month of the Islamic calendar, this was always a sacred month. So these 3 were already sacred. And then the 4th one, the Prophet ﷺ said, is a Rajab of the tribe of Mudar, and which is the one which comes between Jamad al-Thani and Sha'ban. So the tribe of Mudar used to reckon the months in a particular order, and the Prophet ﷺ said, according to their reckoning, Rajab is the 4th of the sacred months, which is the one which comes between Jamad al-Thani, the one that we have passed, and Sha'ban, which is the one to come. So the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in a hadith, clarified that these 4 sacred months includes the month of Rajab. So the injunction of Allah Ta'ala for us from the Qur'an is فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Don't wrong your souls during this month, during these sacred months. Some of the things that we should focus on in these months is the optional fasting. Optional fasting can be done on various days. Again, this is for preparation for the month of Ramadan. So one of the times which the Prophet ﷺ emphasized is Monday and Thursday. The Prophet ﷺ said that these were days on which the deeds of the servants of Allah are presented before Him. So he said, I love that when my deeds are presented before Allah, I should be in a state of fasting. So for this reason, the Prophet ﷺ recommended fasting on Mondays and Thursdays. So if you want to start the process of nafl fasts, which is one of the excellent ibadat of this month of Rajab in preparation for Ramadan, you can choose, if you wish, to do Monday and Thursday to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ. In fact, I think you know Dr. Michael Mosley. He mentions a lot of health advice. He passed away recently. And he said that he would fast 2 days of the week. Different styles of intermittent fasting which he recommended for health improvement, for weight loss and for diabetes. And he said that he fasted 2 days a week. And he then mentioned in one of his articles, he mentioned that he sometimes would do that on Monday and Thursday because those were the days the Prophet did it on. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So even scientists, medical professionals, they have taken from the knowledge of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, worked it into their advice, and those with respect in their hearts, who are true academics, who acknowledge with integrity the sources of their information, he chose to respect the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam by fasting on the days which the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had recommended. Otherwise, the Prophet ﷺ also chose to fast on Monday because he said this was the day that he was born and this was the day when the revelation first came to him. In other narrations, the Prophet ﷺ recommended fasting 3 days in a month. And sometimes he mentioned this was the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, or other days of the month, but 3 days a month to keep up this habit. The 13th, the 14th, the 15th, these are the days when the moon is brightest, the full moon. So these are also days when optional fasting is recommended. And in some of the narrations, a very famous dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidina Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that when Rajab came, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say, Allahumma barik lana fi, in some narrations Rajabin, in some narrations Rajaba, wa Sha'ban, wa ballighna Ramadan. Oh Allah, bless us in Rajab, bless us in Sha'ban, and help us to reach Ramadan. So we make it, in other words, so that we may enjoy its blessings. Some of these ahadith, the scholars mention sometimes that there may be issues with some of the chain of narration, but we can still take information from these hadith for the sake of encouraging good actions, which is known as fadail al-a'mal, even if there is some weakness in the chain of narration, because the purpose is to encourage good deeds, fadail al-a'mal. We're not ruling halal and haram here. Also, because we have many hadith which come to the same point, which mention the same thing, they each strengthen each other. So even if there is a weakness in one narration, in the isnad, in the chain, then the other hadith which give us the same information, they support each other. So this is mentioned in a number of ahadith. Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. Then I want to mention a particular hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in connection with the nafl fasting. There are a number of narrations. Again, this narration also in the chain, some of the scholars said that there may be a weakness with one or two of the narrators, but again, there are many hadiths which say similar things, so they all strengthen each other. And also, the content of this hadith also conforms to the content of other hadith which are authenticated more strongly as well. And Buraidah radiallahu ta'ala anhu قال, Buraidah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said this hadith, he said, دخل بلال على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And it's very beautiful when you read the hadith to read the details, the circumstances. He said, دخل بلال. Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu entered upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So meaning the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is seated or in a situation, and Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu comes to see him. دخل بلال على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Look at these people. These are people who we love. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Al-mar'u ma'a man ahab. A man will be with the one he loves. So when we mention the name of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and we feel our hearts beating a little bit faster out of love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it gives us hope that we will be with him in Jannah. Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu, these are beloved people to us. I had the honor of visiting his grave in Sham many years ago, Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And we know what he did for Islam. We know his sacrifices for Islam. So these are great personalities. He is the one whose footsteps Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard in Jannah on the night of Mi'raj. And when he heard his footsteps, then he came back to earth and he asked, Bilal, what is it that you do that I heard your footsteps in Jannah when I was in Mi'raj? Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu said that the only thing he could think of, he said, is that when he makes wudu, out of appreciation for the coolness of the water and the preparation for the salah, the freedom that he has to enjoy the ni'mah of making wudu in preparation for the prayer, he said, I go to my musalla and I read 2 rakat tahiyyatul wudu. The greeting of the wudu before he has started the prayer. He greets the wudu with tahiyyatul wudu. And those footsteps going from the place where he made wudu to the place where he reads tahiyyatul wudu, these footsteps are heard by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Jannah. This is the position of Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He comes upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the hadith says, يَتَغَدَّى. Yataghadda, meaning that he comes upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam while the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is eating food. So the state in which he comes upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is recorded, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is eating food. And according to the translation here, it also mentions that he was having breakfast in particular. فَقَالَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ الْغَدَاء يَا بِلَالِ. These people that we hear about in history, this is the dialogue which they exchanged with each other being recorded for us in the hadith. Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu comes upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is having his breakfast. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Al-Ghada ya Bilal. Food! Oh Bilal, come and join me. He invites him, join me, sit with me, eat breakfast with me. Qal, the Prophet, and then Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu says, Inni sa'imun. I'm fasting. So now we have the situation where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is eating food. Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu is in his presence and he is fasting. What do we do? فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with his beautiful words, he explains what is the adab of this situation, what is the etiquette of this situation. He says, نَأْكُلُ رِزْقَنَا. He said, we are eating our provision, meaning I'm going to go on eating my breakfast because I'm having my food. نَأْكُلُ رِزْقَنَا. We will go on eating our food. وَفَضْلُ رِزْقِ بِلَالٍ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. But he said that the superior provision of Bilal radiallahu ta'ala who is in Jannah, meaning we will have our rizq here and he will have his rizq in Jannah. But he didn't say his rizq, he said فَضْلُ رِزْقٍ. He said he will have a superior reward, a superior rizq. The nourishment that we have, he will have a greater nourishment. فَضْلُ رِزْقِ بِلَالٍ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. He will have that in Jannah. Now the scholars said in commentary of this hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had already explained that he would eat his earthly food and Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu ta'ala will have his reward in Jannah. And the point was explained, but he said targhiban, meaning to give Bilal radiallahu ta'ala more hope and more encouragement of the reward of his good deeds. He elaborated further. Ash'arta ya Bilal. He said, do you know, O Bilal? Ash'arta ya Bilal. Are you aware, O Bilal? Anna as-sa'ima. He said, as for the one who fasts, yusabbihu idhamuhu. His bones glorify Allah Ta'ala. وَيَسْتَغْفِرُ لَهُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. And the malaika, the angels, will keep on seeking forgiveness for him. مَا أُكِلَ عِنْدَهُ. He said, so long as someone is eating in his presence. Now Rasulullah ﷺ has explained to him that I am eating in front of you because whilst I eat in front of you and you do sabr during your fast, your bones will do tasbih and the malaika will make istighfar for you. That is the reward that you have when someone eats in front of you. Obviously in Ramadan when we fast, our family and friends also they fast as well. But the nafl fast, we are fasting and someone else is eating. And so this situation will arise. And sometimes you find, for example, the ladies, some days they are excused from fasting, so they may have to eat, and you are sitting in the house. And sometimes they say, I'm sorry to eat in front of you. And I say, oh well, welcome to eat in front of me. Because this is the reward which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us about. Say, I encourage them to eat in front of me. I say, keep eating in front of me. Because this is the reward which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us about. And there are other narrations which say that during the time when someone is eating in their presence, the malaika invoke salawat upon them. So there are different narrations, all in the same vein, that the malaika are making dua of blessings for the one who is fasting while someone is eating in their presence. So the other thing that I want to mention is that fasting in Rajab for us, if you look now, this month of Rajab is in January. These are, in Britain, these are short days. So this is easy reward. So you start fasting now at 6:25 in the morning and you finish at 4:10 in the evening. So it's an early breakfast and a late lunch. It's no hardship for you. So it's very easy reward for you. That's for the one who is doing nafl. And it's practice for you for Ramadan. Because in Ramadan you'll do the same thing, maybe an hour earlier in the morning, an hour later in the evening, and so you're beginning to train the body. Eat twice a day, don't snack too much during the day. You begin to train the body for Ramadan. But the other thing I want to mention is that obviously we have ladies in the house as well, at home. This is a time for you also to give them nasiha and for them to remember as well. This is an excellent time to make up the fasts which they have missed in Ramadan. For the Sharia reasons, sometimes the women are not permitted to fast. So they can do qada of their fasts during this time. In Rajab, Sha'ban, this is an excellent time for them to make up because the qada of the fast is due from them. That is an obligation upon them. So for them, they can make them up at this time. And if you want to encourage them, you can do the nafl fast with them as well. So you will have your reward and your preparation for Ramadan, and they will make up their qada as well. And in these days, they can do it very easily. It's very hard for them to do qada in the summer with the long fasts when everyone else is eating and drinking around them. So this is a very easy time. So please, when you go home also, advise the women in your house as well. This is an excellent time for them to do qada if they have fasts to make up. And on this note, one hadith I just wanted to leave you with, to give you insight into the psychology of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A lady, Mu'adha radiallahu anha, female companion, she narrates that she asked Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha. Obviously she was a scholar. Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha is great muhaddith, narrator of hadith, a scholar. And of course, she was the day and night companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the men would ask her, but on the female issues, the women would ask her especially. So she asked Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, how is it that a menstruating woman is to make up for her fast, but not for her prayer? So the women, when they are not able to fast, they have to do qada of the fast. But when they are not able to pray for exactly the same reason, they do not have to do qada of the prayer. So she asked, how is this the case? So Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she replied, that is because we were ordered to make up the fast and we were not ordered to make up the salah. That's it. So she said, this is the hukum. This is the hukum we were given. We were told to make up the fast, we make up the fast. We were told not to, we were not ordered to make up the prayer, we don't make up the prayer. That's it. So this is the obedience that the companions had. Their deen, the detail of their deen was in the hukum of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They would ask him, whatever he said, they would do it. And this is the simple explanation for the ladies. Do what you have been commanded to do. Allah and His Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam know best what is the hikmah, what is the reward, and what is easy for people. Because salah is 5 times a day. When you have to do your own salah, then you have to make up the qada. But the fast is only 1 month. So you have 11 months to make it up. And you can make it up in these easy days. So this is the way the deen has been ordained for us. Our job is to follow it. May Allah Ta'ala grant us the barakat of this month and help us to prepare for the month of Ramadan. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum.